Welcome, grade 7. I definitely wanted to introduce you to the new performance expectations that we're going to take on after the Westeka trip concerning the models. We talked a lot about models in class. We've done model building of two-dimensional model building of the classroom, and then a three-dimensional model of you'll be doing that today, of the school as a practice activity leading into these performance expectations. So for this assessment, you will have to create two models if you're reading along, using school and personal materials to show two things. The first model, we want to know what happens to matter as it goes through the process of cellular respiration inside an organism. So we talked about cellular respiration a lot in this unit. So for this particular 1.7 MSLS17, it's that model, developing a model to show cellular respiration. B, you're going to, and we've talked about this in the last assessment, and that's LS 2.3, how the flow of energy and cycling of matter move through the living and non-living parts of the ecosystem. So that will be your second model. Students will have approximately 4 hours of class time to research, plan, and prepare, and you'll see below is the timetable. The models can be a simple drawing or a three-dimensional representation. It's really up to you. Remember, the model is supposed to be a visual of phenomenon happening in nature. So those two events is the phenomenon that we want to see you represent in your model. To ensure students are staying on task, a rubric will be provided, and I'm going to show you the rubric in class today. And it highlights the approaching, the meeting, and the exceeding expectations. Students will work independently. I've had questions about whether this is a group or individual. We want you to do this individually. But you will have the opportunity to practice, to do practice activities like the model of the classroom, the model of the school, and you can also ask your friends in class during the assessment week, next week, to give you feedback. All models is very important, must be built at school. However, research and planning can be done at home. And in fact, I get down here, we talk about why that's probably better to do all your research at home because it gives you more chances to get feedback and to work on your model in class. The teacher feedback is, again, we're going to keep it at 4. So you get 3 attempts. But 4 opportunities to work through and add, to fix your models. However, I'm very strict on this. We are not going to give multiple attempts if students are not receptive to the feedback. And what that means is that there's no significant change, the student makes no attempt to reflect, and additional research has not been conducted after the feedback. So if I say you need to fix this and you need to understand this concept, you can't simply just go back, fix it quickly, and then expect the feedback on that same class. No, you should go back, reread the phenomenon, how it works, and then you may need to add something to your model or take away something, depending on what the feedback is. The students may not get 3 attempts or 3 feedback sessions with me if they did not time manage and they're asking for multiple feedback attempts on the last day. So if you're really moving slowly through building your model and you say your first attempt is on Friday, October 6th, well, this is the last day for the model building. And in that case, you would only get 1 attempt. So you're not time managing. People that are on task and have time managed will receive up to 3 attempts. Number 3 says, only having one teacher may limit a fourth and final attempt because student feedback 2 and 3 is taking longer than expected. This just means that if the feedback for all students is taking a long time, like it did for the face-to-face feedback in the first performance expectations, we may not get to the final feedback for everybody. However, there will be a rubric, so you're just going to closely follow that rubric so that you're getting the best possible grade. How will attempts happen this time around? You guys wanted face-to-face according to the survey. We're going to honor that. I'm going to set up a table at the back of the classroom, maybe even outside the door, to give students an opportunity to give feedback. If you want feedback, you simply just click on this link down here, and it takes you to a link that has 3 simple questions telling me what session this is, what level do you think your model is currently on, and what part of your model do you think needs assistance. So this is going to help me to speed up the feedback session so that everyone gets multiple opportunities. Let me just go back to here. 5 says all students must keep track of their attempts, and in a second I'll show you the rubric. The rubric, actually, I'll show you right now. You can see that the rubric has LS17, so when you come up and get feedback, you bring this rubric and I'll actually give you your current grade and just check that box to indicate that you've received that feedback. Number 6, students can peer assess each other with minimal noise when feedback session starts. And know that what I will do to see what level you're on is I'm actually going to ask you questions like, if I remove object A from your model, what will happen to the system as a whole? These are some questions that I'm going to ask you to find out how much you really understand within your model, which is important because the model isn't just the drawing, it's the explanation behind the phenomenon. Those that receive feedback on the last day, so period 1 is Thursday, that's the last day to build your model, or Friday is every other period. If I give you feedback, you can use the feedback and then send me a video of you explaining your model with the used feedback. Just be sure to put the period number in the email. Finally, to save time for building your model, and I said this earlier, it's expected that research and planning is done at home for homework. That way you get more feedback time and you can have more model building time in class. And remember, models cannot be built at home. And to keep track, and we want you to do this for this assessment, to keep track of what you're doing each day, you actually have to fill out the graphic organizer. Make a copy of this, what day, put the date, what the expected output is today, what you want to do today, what you actually did is the actual output. What did you learn when you were working that day on the model building project? And what you learned will probably come from a resource or link that you read or watched. So a few things for learning moments. You could have one thing there if you only learned one thing from that particular, or nothing. Maybe you didn't learn anything, but then it probably wouldn't be a really good resource. Moving on, so you can make a copy of that template, which is in Haiku. You'll see it there. It's called the Model Plan Graphic Organizer. But here's the schedule. So you can see P1 to P7 and when you're being introduced. We're finishing the 3D model of the school today. And then period 1, actually, they are doing they're starting the activity, whereas period 6 and 7 are just finishing it up. And then you can see period 3 and period 4 happen on Wednesday, where they're being introduced. And then the Westeka trip. So when is the model building happening? It actually happens the Monday following Westeka. It's actually called assessment starts or continues, and the feedback begins. So you can get feedback on that first day if you come prepared, ready. And then that happens. We're going to spend the whole week building model, planning, finding resources, and getting feedback. And it's our hope that we get as many feedback sessions as we can. Hopefully everyone gets 3. Some links that you can, there's some YouTube and some videos and some websites for reading on cellular respiration and energy flowing. Okay. I will also pass out the rubric, and we'll go over that in class. And the rubric really looks like this. You can see that there's approaching, meeting, and exceeding. And if you read through the rubric, this is a lot of teacher language in here, but next week I'll have a better breakdown for what that looks like and what I'm checking for to see what level you're on. And remember, I'm going to ask you some questions when you present your model, and that will also indicate what level your model's on. Okay, that is it. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Nope. Please watch this video again if you did not understand any of that, or you can ask me a question. But because I'm introducing this to 5 different classes, I thought it might be best to just do a screencast. Thanks a lot, guys, and be sure to ask questions for clarification, and maybe we can take those up as a class. Okay.